should actually talk about ethics. What do you think? Say, Brett.
I think that's a good way to get into what we're about to talk about, and something worth fighting over is what Unsplash is doing to the photography community and industry at large. And if you guys are unfamiliar with Unsplash, we'll give you a quick rundown as to what this platform is. So, it's a photography sharing community or platform that puts out competitions for photographers who might be a little wet behind the ears. And they say, hey, you can upload your images and you can enter this competition and you could win X prize or whatever, something like that. What they don't tell you, or what is really hidden in the very, very, very small print, is every single image you upload to Unsplash, they completely strip away your rights to that image. They take over ownership of that image immediately. And then that image can then be used by anyone, any individual photographer, any individual company, in any way that they like, without ever having to pay you royalties or even credit the image to you. One of the biggest issues Chris and I and the Phoblographer staff have had with Unsplash over the years is that it has almost completely devalued photography and what we do as individuals, especially those who specialize in stock photography. And these massive companies who come out and say, oh, we're for the photographer and we want to do everything we can to help you succeed in photography, are then taking your images and using them in their multi-billion-dollar adverts, when you could actually be turning around and selling those images for yourself and making money on them. And this is a community that is exploding. Unsplash is just one of many. There have been more. There's actually one. I think it's called Raw Shots. Is that right,
Raw
Chris?
shots.
Raw
Ugh.
Shots. This is another company that has popped up in the last month or so, who is asking photographers for the raw files to their images. Can you even imagine? I would never give a raw file to anyone, even my
Yeah.
clients. If my clients want the raw images, they have to pay for them.
But more
No.
than that too, they were like, "Oh yeah," and then the designers can pay the photographers and they can credit them. But then there's this thing on the contact page or like the disclaimer page that's literally just a line that says, "Oh, the photographers don't really have to be credited or paid, and the
Hmm.
designers can just donate to someone." I mean, when's the last time you donated to someone to doing something for you for free?
Right. Exactly. It's an incredibly dangerous situation we're getting into, with just so many photographers sharing so many things. And the reason why I wanted to bring this up is just, I think it was just this past week, yet another photography community has started using Unsplash images to promote their website. And I think it was Shutterbug. Was that correct?
Yeah, it was. It was.
Yeah. Yeah.
No, it wasn't. It wasn't that necessarily. They did a sponsored post, and I've talked with the editor in chief about it.
Gotcha.
And he, for some clarity, I've known the editor in chief for a very long time. I consider
Hmm.
him a mentor. Um, they did a sponsored post with MPB, and we've been doing the same thing, but we use a lot of our own house images. We keyword
Yep.
them, all that kind of stuff. Um, they were using Unsplash images, which again, it's like, oh, okay, I'm gonna make money off of this, and I'm not gonna give any sort of money to the photographers at all.
Hmm.
That's really, really.
Yep.
I mean, let's say you had this really cool thing that you were doing, and let's say you didn't make art, you made, actually no, you made lotion, right? You made
Hmm.
this really cool lotion, and you didn't have any sort of copyrights on it or anything else like that, or at least like government copyrights, and someone was just like, hey, can I just have a whole bunch of that from you? And you're like, yeah, sure, you can take it for free. Suddenly they take this and they combine it with something else, and they create like, I don't know, like this lotion that makes flu molecules like bounce off of you or something like that and not touch you. I don't know. I'm just making something up. But now they're taking your free product that you worked really hard on, and they're making a whole lot of money on it, and they're completely cutting you out on it. You can't go back and say, "Hey man, no takesies backsies on that." Like, I mean, like, how about you pay me all that money? And they're like, "No, you gave it to me for free."
Yep. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's a good analogy, and I mean that's exactly what's going on. It's the same sort of thing, even believe it or not, when you upload your images to social media accounts. You upload to Instagram, you upload to Facebook. The terms of service state that you are basically giving up your rights to the images that you upload to these platforms. And there have been court cases in the last year or so where a photographer has been like, "Hey, that's my image being used by X company." And they're like, well, you put it up on Instagram, it's fair game. And this is, like I say, it's a growing trend.
Yeah. I'm actually trying to find our coverage on Unsplash over the past
Hmm.
years because we've done a whole lot of it. So I am getting it together and I'm putting it on the Facebook and I'm putting it on in Zoom here for everyone else. So you guys can take a look. You can check out a lot of our articles that we've done on Unsplash over the past couple of years.
Hmm.
There are a lot of problems with not only them, but also all these other companies like Raw Shots, for example. My other big problem is they're again sort of blindsiding photographers, at least especially with the Unsplash contests. It's like, oh yeah, we're gonna work with all these cool partners like Vice and who publishes Wired again? Condé
Uh,
Nast.
yeah.
And Polaroid. Polaroid was actually just a recent one of the
Hmm.
partners, and I was like, really, guys? Really? Like, you literally sell cameras. What's
Exactly.
wrong with you? And previous ones have been Moments and Instasize and Peak Design.
Hmm.
I still hold Peak Design responsible, and I've tried to talk to them about it, and they're only like, uh, well, we just haven't worked with them again. And I'm like, well, shouldn't you guys fess up and like take responsibility and apologize? And they're like, we're not going to do that. And I'm like,
Yeah. They still don't see it as a problem.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
When their entire company was built on photographers supporting them.
Yeah.
Um,
Absolutely.
and I mean, I think that there are a lot of big ethical problems around the world like that. And, you know, you can say that the world isn't black and white. Okay. But shouldn't we all aspire to be more on the white side of things? Um, in any way that we possibly can, and also make the
Hmm.
most ethical, best decisions that we possibly can for our companies and also just for the sustainability of our own industries. And that's really think with Unsplash, like when you're sitting there just telling these people, hey, you guys, hey, you're street photographers, you're portrait photographers, you're abstract photographers, you should enter into this contest, and then you have a chance to win money towards a ticket. And then there's like 20 winners, 20 different
Yeah.
categories, and they're like, yeah, you guys can now compete against one another, and you have a chance to win the ticket, to win the
Hmm.
money towards a ticket. That's literally how the first contest went. And the
Yep.
second contest I think also went that way. Third contest I also think that went that way. The current contest I'm not very sure. But they
Hmm.
always have different partners, and those partners develop things like symbiotic relationships, like, hey, I'll scratch my back, you scratch my back, I scratch yours. We'll feed people over to you. Um, we want to work with you. Um, and I think that it really just throws the photography community like under the bus. I do think that, like a lot of people, they're sitting there, they're uploading like really good work when they don't realize that they could actually make a whole lot of money. And I think that it's up to all of us as hobbyists, as professional
Hmm.
photographers, as passionate photographers to also not only do that, but also uplift photography overall. We sit there, and no, I shouldn't say we sit there, but mainstream culture and the tech world sits there and says, oh, yeah, you can do all of that with just this. No problems at all. But in truth, there's a lot more to it. A lot of us go out there and we take our time, we create these images that no one else has. And we need to keep reminding people that, like, hey, photography actually does have value.
Hmm.
Like, there are a lot of ways that it has been evolving over the years, but there are still really pertinent things to it that really make it truly like a form of art. And there have been museums that have been trying to do that. Here in New York, we are privileged to have two photography museums. We have ICP, otherwise known as the International Center of Photography, and
Hmm.
then we also have Photografiska. Photografiska is a European museum that decided to bring over an American chain. I'm actually a paying member.
Gotcha.
I haven't gone back ever since COVID happened, but they are doing more events and they do really try to push good photography into people's faces through printing and
Hmm.
specific lighting methods. We've written about them actually on the site and they're
Yep.
fantastic. Um, I'm getting goosebumps just thinking about it, and going there, and how nice it would be to go there again. But when I do that, like I'm gonna have to sit there, and I'm gonna have to be like this with an actual mask. You know,
Yeah.
um, I don't know. Like I know people are going to museums right now. I'm not very comfortable doing it. I'm not
Yeah.
comfortable sending my staff to do it either right now. Um, Brett, I mean, you would talk about this almost every week. I'm just like, be careful when you're going at testing,
Yeah,
like all the time.
absolutely. You have to be, even if you just step outside the door and don't even really truly go into a building anymore. You still got to be out there and mask yourself up and stuff. So it's just some things that just aren't worth it right now.
Yeah, but more than that too. I mean, besides like the COVID danger and stuff like that, I never thought it would really be like sort of dangerous to do our jobs. Like we're journalists,
Hmm.
but we're also photographers, and it's like, hey, the world hates us in many ways, and they're trying to like screw us over and get our rights to these images. And I'm like,
Hmm.
okay, but like we took them. It's our intellectual property. And I think that
Right.
it should be a lot easier for photographers and other artists to be able to fight for the rights of their intellectual property.
And I think just the fact that these companies are out there trying to get your images for free should scream in your face at just how valuable your images are actually worth or can be worth. They know what they're worth. They know they can push them off onto advertisers and companies who will snap them up. I mean, you've really got to value your work, and I'm seeing some comments over here on the side. One about watermarking and other digital marking offering any protection. I think really, Sanjay, you've got to go even further than that these days, man. Registering your images with the copyright, basically with the government. I think it's so is it $55 to register 750 images or something like that.
Yeah,
Um,
there's a bill to change it again because it just
yeah,
got really stupidly complicated.
yep.
But there's a lot of groups that are lobbying right now.
Absolutely. I mean, yeah, you can put a watermark on your image, but honestly, these days it's so easy to remove a watermark. Um, I think it was earlier on this year, maybe late last year. There's a program that came out that is AI driven that will actually remove full image watermarks as well. Uh,
It's really interesting. I'm sorry to cut you off, but
mhm,
Adobe has that intelligent cloning tool or something like that, or
mhm.
replacements. I've always wondered if you can really remove a watermark using that, but you probably could.
I'm sure you probably could.
Yeah,
It's not
yeah,
something I've looked into, but what can't Photoshop do in manipulating images?
yeah. It's
You
also
know?
something I've never tried because
Yeah,
ethics.
absolutely.
And then T. Martin was saying, Brett, oddly, some of these IG cases have gone in favor of the photographer, others in favor of the offending parties using photos without permission. Yeah, yeah. But I mean, still do feel that it's. I hate being the person that says we are all responsible for this,
Hmm.
but we sort of are.
Yeah, yeah. We've created this monster. We've just taken images and sharing them online and getting our work out there, and we haven't really stopped to think what the ramifications of this would be.
Mm-hmm. I'm trying to look at our comments on Facebook because now it's saying there are 13 comments. Let's see if there are other things. No,
Interesting.
no, it's weird. but I don't really see any of the other. Oh, where should a newbie market their photos? Great question, Shayla. Um, so, I actually specialize in this a little bit. If you want to really get your images out there, I think the best place to go, hands down, first off to start, is Behance.
Hmm.
Behance, ultimately, at least in my opinion, is one of the best things that Adobe does for photographers. It is a special social community where you can upload your images, tag them, you can collaborate with other artists, you can sell directly to agencies or anything else like that, and you can work with them there. Other images, maybe stock companies, but you have to sit there and really work on something that's very, very unique.
Hmm.
We have actually we have a Shutterstock membership. I've used it a couple of times. Uh, and the reason why I'm specifically saying Shutterstock is because their search is actually the best. There are a couple other companies. I think Alamy is another one that's really good to
Hmm.
photographers, but Alamy search is pretty awful.
Yeah.
Um,
Adobe even has their own stock photography option as well.
yeah, yeah, they do. They also tie into Getty, I think.
Hmm.
I'm not sure. But at least start on Behance. And
Yeah.
usually when you upload your images there, they're under Creative Commons. Um, I would probably make sure that you set them to like all rights reserved unless you actually do want them to be Creative Commons. I do have images up there that I do want to be Creative Commons, partially
Hmm.
because when I go ahead and I pitch my work, and that's another big part of it. I want to, allow uh usage to be pretty apparent so that these companies can actually like go ahead and just use the images but only for editorial use. So with that, you put images up, but then you have to go ahead and you have to start doing your own marketing. And
Hmm.
that's not just on stock, that's also just anywhere. So if you go on Behance, like for example, I did this series a couple of years ago called Secret Order of the Slice, just to see if I could still, you know, do what I do or what I used to do with photography. So I put it up there. I wrote this pitch to many different publications. I altered it according to their publications. I said, hey, you guys can go ahead and you can post this up. And I'm very happy to answer questions. And some of them gave me questions to answer. Some of them didn't. Some of them just took the images, took the description on there. And because I gave them the permission, they just ran with it. And, it blew up for a while. That I mean, arguably, it sort of went viral for a little bit. Uh, so yeah, it's not only just sitting there and just like putting it out there. You have to follow
Hmm.
up and you have to like massage it and you have to like tell people that it exists. So you have to have a plan. And my
Yeah.
plan was to sit there and try to get it in as many publications as I possibly could. And me, okay, that I didn't have pay, I wasn't getting paid from it. I thought that maybe okay, I might be able to get maybe a company will want to license the images, or maybe another company might want to like hire me for the concept or something like that. That was my aim, and I think that personal projects are really important for that kind of stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. And you're going on from other platforms like Behance as well, which is a fantastic place to start with. How about mynamephotography.com? Your own website is a fantastic platform for you to be able to get your work out there. And again, you've got to work it. You have to massage it, as Chris was saying, but you can put your own images on your own website and you can get out there. And if you wanted to go more old school, going back into the first segment, you can print your images and you can even get them out there locally. Go and visit local businesses, see if you can hang your artwork up there, get your local community involved in this as well. Photography doesn't always have to be a worldwide experience. We can still do things the old fashioned way as well, you know.
I completely agree with you on that. Doing like little pop up shows at a cafe or something is a
Hmm.
really great way. We have another question. If IG can use anyone's photos, can we also use the pros? Not that I would do so. So there was a court case about this recently. You can embed the posts. You cannot download the image on your own and then use them in your own for your own editorial use or something like that.
Hmm.
I'm going through that right now with a photographer, and I'm trying to explain to him that, like, hey, we need high res images because of the fact that, like, we have to cater to various screens. But also it will keep your piece a little bit more future proof. Like, let's say in the next year, like, retina screens double in size, or like WordPress and the entire web needs to change, like, it will mean that your images look better in the future. And he was concerned that people would sit there, they'd download the images and they'd use them. He'd have to go after them for stealing. And our site, we programmed it in to a point where you can we can upload images and we can embed them, and we can do it in such a way so that people can't really right click on them and download the images. It's pretty cool. um, but to answer your question, uh, you can embed an Instagram post, but you can't download the image from Instagram and then use it on your own. I hope that answers the question.
Hmm.
Um, or like a portfolio. What is? Oh, yeah, she was referring to like you actually having like a printed portfolio, I assume.
Right. Yep. Absolutely.
Yeah. Any other questions on Facebook on the Book of Face? Uh. Oh wow. David Bromer is actually paying attention. Hey man, it's nice to see you. I appreciate that. That happens. It's fine. At least it means they're paying attention. I'm all right with that, right? Um,
Absolutely.
do years in ROTC and they don't care. Whatever. Um, Tim saying thanks. I hope we answered every question, right? That makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah. We got to everyone on here, I think.
All right, cool. Then in that case, Brett, could you actually do a check very quickly on Facebook, because I think that we've gotten
Absolutely.
everything.
Let's have a look here.
Yeah.
Yep. I think we're good. Good
All
on the
right.
questions.
All right, cool. Then in that case, folks, thank you so much. We really hope that you learned something tonight. We really actually sat there and really thought about this. Actually, you folks should know that. Like, sometimes I'll ping the review team. I'll be like, "Hey, Hillary, can you do it this weekend?" And she'll be like, "No, unfortunately, I can't get a babysitter for the kids." And Brett and I are usually planning these things a couple of days in advance to really try to figure out what would do well with our audience. So a fair amount of work goes into these beforehand, and then again later on, as soon as this is done, I cut the feed, I download everything from Zoom, and then I cut them into individual videos that we publish onto YouTube later on this week. So once again, go check us out on YouTube and go subscribe to us on all the podcast platforms. You're going to get the articles that we publish translated over to AI there, and you can check them out whenever you want to. I don't think we have anything more, right? That's it.
No, I think that's it. Other than just a final thought on that, just protect your work, guys. Value your work and what you do, and just be careful out there. Read the small print on these websites. If it sounds too good to be true, chances are it probably is.
Yeah, and actually beyond that too, if you really don't know what anything means, you can actually sometimes just like copy and paste it into Google and probably find out,
Yep,
or bring it
absolutely.
onto Reddit. So, yeah.